Hello, it's Nancy, and I'm back with my second show and tell of the 52 tags that Anne Brooke is hosting. The first tag I have to share is tag number 6, and it was Bevy of Buttons. And I stitched the buttons in the shape of a ladder with a long running stitch on the outside of each of the buttons. When Anne demonstrated her stitching on her button tag, I loved how she went outside the buttons instead of staying in, which then inspired me and reminded me of the little bracelets we used to do. We used to do placemats, coasters, bracelets, necklaces with this kind of stitch. But anyway, my favorite poem, and I recited this to my little granddaughter this year for her birthday, was Forever Young. And so I stitched that part of the quote to kind of go with the ladder. I planned on using my star buttons to hang here, or even just swag like this and then just hang down. But I could not find my star buttons, so this is what I ended up doing. There's a modest bit of quilting here because I didn't want to use a quilt piece. I didn't want anything real thick like batting. So I just sandwiched a layer or 2 layers of diaper fabric, which is really wonderful for making a little bit denser pieces of handwork when you want that quilty kind of look, but you don't want a big old fat bat in there. So anyway, that's this one. I really enjoyed doing this. This takes a long time. But it's fun because it's unusual. In fact, when I was younger and I did embroidery, I did a lot of quote embroidery. So it was kind of the thing at the time. Anyway, that's the Bevy of Buttons. This is the Hexie tag, and I used snaps for the center, little black snaps, and each snap is a different size. I stitched them down the way you would, I stitched over the rim instead of down in the well because I wanted those to look more floral. And then I put French knots all the way around. And I don't know if I said this or not, but each snap is progressively bigger, even though the flowers stay the same. I stitched it all down to a piece of polished cotton, a printed polished cotton that's a floral. And I just cut the leafy section out and I enhanced it with some hand stitching around, and I did a double row of running stitches around the edge. I do have something I want to share with you, a little tip. I didn't want to go out to the studio and cut circles to make my hexagons when I have hundreds of hexagons. So what I did was I took my hexagon, and just like your circle, you will fold it in fourths, or find the center by pressing it out like this. And then what you can do is, instead of bringing the arc of the circle to the center, you just pick a point and you take that point to the center. Let's see if I can do this. Darn, why won't that go? Let me just pick another point because that one's being stubborn. So you take a point and you put it on the center, and you do not have to use a tack stitch, but I'm doing it just for this because when I get to the end, I don't want to lose my little hexagon that I created. So then you press this to the next point, right where the point is cut, and then you take that point and you put it there too, and take a stitch there. And go back down. And you're going to just do that all the way around. Press it to the point that's already cut there because it's a hexagon, and come up right in the center and just take the tiniest amount of fabric you can. And I hope you can see this. Just keep going all the way around. And just like in the circle, whatever your size that you start out with, like if you start out with a 2-inch circle, you're going to get a 1-inch hexie. At the longest point of the cut hexagram, you're like, if this is a 2-inch hexie, I get a 1-inch hexie when I'm done. Press this out to the point. And the other thing too, to kind of be aware of, if you have these little hexes already cut, is the better the shape or the more accurate the shape, the more accurate it will be when you're done stitching. Just like in the circle. If you got a kitty wampus kind of circle, it's not the best hexie, although you can kind of fudge it on a stitching in on a hexie. So there we go. I'm just gonna, whoopsie, almost dropped it. Look at that cute little tiny hexie. I wish I would have used polka dots now. Oh well, but there it is. You just go up and pull that stitch up one more time. So I still think the circle is great for a lot of reasons, especially if you don't already have hexies. But if you already have hexagrams somewhere, oh, I must have poked my finger. But anyway, that's it. There you go, a handy hint in case you've already got them cut. The next little tag was bullions, French knots, and pistol stitches. And I used one layer of diaper cloth in this sandwich because I wanted that poofiness, but I didn't want it too poofy. I did a little bit of typography. She said to use a color we don't often use. I rarely use yellow unless it's the center of a flower. And these pieces are scraps from a crazy quilt I was doing where I had to include every pastel. So that's that. Sorry, I was holding it down there looking at it myself instead of showing it to you guys. But anyway, I put the hexies in a dome, on a dome, and then, I'm not hexies, God, I got hexies on the brain now. The French knots mounted, and then I did my bullion knots, and I tried to make it look like a hurricane daisy or a windmill daisy, and it sort of looks like one of those. Technically, it's a Shasta daisy that looks like it's been in a hurricane or a child drew it, and it's a windmill daisy. So I used bullions down the center of some chain stitching, and then my pistol stitches are what I would call the germination pieces from new daisies coming up. So they're little pistils because they're just shooting out of the ground. Okay, so that's that. And then this is the bits and pieces. I was really happy to do this because I love paper. I do mixed media collage and paper arts, and I just love papers. So and the other part of the theme, besides starting with paper or using paper and not attaching this all the way down, was to use something that was a gift. This piece of paper, along with this heart-shaped rock and this little piece of silk ribbon, a friend named Lisa gave to me. And so I decided to use that. This paper is a technique on a National Geographic picture with citrusol. It's just kind of a way of smooshing the inks around, and it always turns out so gorgeous. Then on top of the tag that I stitched it all down to hold all these pieces in is a piece of my hand-painted paper that I used on my gel press. You know, I painted it, and I do all my work on the gel press, and then I pull it on my print, you know, for my paper. And then also, I am a hand spinner, and this is some yarn that I've made. It's merino wool and some pink Angora, or white Angora and pink merino wool, I'm sorry. And then this is a little scrap from a crazy quilt I was making. And one of the things I did on there was I ran a basting stitch on a piece of torn fabric that was really long, like inches and inches long, to go down along the seam. And it's a remnant from that, and I put that in there because I do quilting. So this is kind of like a collection of things I do. The other thing I do is I'm a bookmaker, And these pieces of painted fabric are my book cloths that I make myself for my bindings. And each one was a different book, and these are the offcuts. Now the pieces that are on the book don't quite look like this. They sort of do, but they're different because they're further in and on, you know, the book is on them. Oh, that's what I stitched that little piece on with. But anyway, yeah, these are just muslin pieces that I paint in a way that they secure my bindings for me. This is a mono print that I also did on my gel press plate, and another book cloth and another book cloth. Actually, this is the same book cloth piece that's right here on the top. This is just a secondary scrap. And then I also topped it with a little tea tag. I love saving my tea tags because they have wonderful little quotes. I have tea every day, and I save either yogi tags or Good Earth tags. And the reason I put this one on there instead of another one is it says, when you become part of the universe becomes part of you. And what I liked about that was we have all become part of something with each other for doing these tags together. And it just felt so appropriate and fun to, you know, include something that kind of, you know, just kind of goes with that. The only problem I'm going to have with this one is how I'm going to hang it, because I stitched my rock in the hole. But I'll figure it out. It'll be no problem. I did decide, did I tell you guys about deciding about my, yeah, I think I did. I told you about putting my banner onto 12 pieces instead of all 52. Okay, well that's it. These are my tags. I hope everybody's having as much fun as I am. I know I said that in the last one, but it's been a blast, and it's awesome to be creative with friends. And you know, look at your Instagrams and your YouTube videos. It's been very inspiring. Okay, kids, time to go. I will post another video next month with the tags we create. So bye-bye for now.